till Jim gets here. So.
Yeah,
All right, we'll start the meeting.
especially since he's the one with the most.
We're gonna open the meeting. It is 6:09. We'll open the planning board meeting. All right, so first on our agenda is approved bills. Do you have any bills that need to be approved?
I do not have any bills.
So,
Do you have any in the folder there?
Okay, we got the meeting minutes. Next from 12 March.
No bills?
no bills.
No bills? That's good.
No bills.
Anything else in there that we should address or anything?
No correspondence speak now. This meeting. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I'll try not to do that again.
I would appreciate that greatly.
Getting up and down is getting harder with age, right?
Looks like we have the minutes from Monday, March 12th, is that correct?
That's correct.
That would be correct, sir.
So you can't vote on them because you weren't here.
Correct.
The only thing that I had when I reviewed the meeting minutes from the 12th of March, under the DLTA grant, I think we should probably put in there, remember Larry told us everything had to be completed no later than 31 December, because that's when the grant ran out.
I wasn't here.
Oh, you were here, okay.
I agree. I think that the date is.
Yeah, because that becomes
It's
part of a
important.
timeline that we have to have stuff done before then.
Well, not being here at the meeting, I did see it on GCam,
Oh, okay.
and we've got a new Susan, is
Yeah.
it?
Susan
Yeah,
Westa.
And she's putting together a package for us, kind of like what Munson's doing, and
Well, from the way I understood it, she's using a template from Ludlow, and Munson and Granby got a concurrent grant together.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but the boilerplate is gonna be Ludlow to begin with, because they wrote that last year, they said.
And then,
Right.
and then she's gonna tailor it to each specific community.
That's correct, and Lil is gonna be her point of contact for the board.
Okay.
That's what was,
Lil and
Jim.
Jim, yeah.
yeah, Lil and Jim, you're right, you're right.
Okay, I can add that to under the DLTA. Anything else?
See anything else, Jay?
No, that's about it on the minutes.
Okay. Can I have a motion for the minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as amended for Monday, the 12th of March, 2018.
Second.
I guess I have to second them? Yes, I will second.
Is there any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain.
And Bob's abstaining because he
Okay.
wasn't here.
Yeah, they didn't make no money.
Just
that
me or
night.
you?
No. No.
No snow.
So on our next agenda item is to review the potential bylaw changes. I think at this time, we're gonna wait for our other member of the board, Mr. Tromke, our vice chair, to be here before we discuss it. So we'll postpone that till our next meeting, unless anybody has any objections to that.
I don't have a problem with that, but I think we're gonna have to create a timeline between our own bylaw recommendations, the DLTA required bylaw changes, and the marijuana required bylaw changes. So we need to find out first what time period ends. Is it the DLTA grant on 31 December or the date of the moratorium for the marijuana, and then back everything up accordingly so we know when our drop dead date is to meet the public meetings, public hearings, and then the special town meeting to get them all approved.
But isn't the DLTA grant just for formulating a guidance path for
That would be true,
applicants?
but we can make some bylaw changes at the same time. So I'm just saying to combine them together.
But the DLTA stuff wouldn't come under the requirement of going to town meeting, because we're not
No.
changing anything, we're just creating a flow chart
Right.
to
Yes.
aid residents and/or people coming into town, right?
Right, but
So-
some of the stuff that's gonna be incorporated in the DLTA process would be some of the suggested bylaw changes that we have.
Yeah, dude, that's
So we have to
yes.
have those changes.
So you have to have them in for PVPC to produce it.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to get them all done simultaneously, so we don't have multiple meetings the town has to pay
Yeah.
for to get them done.
yeah.
That's all I'm trying to
It-
say.
Yeah, it is a loose end that should be addressed.
Right.
with
Just
this.
good,
You're
good
right.
planning for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
You know, get everything done at once, so when we go in for the public hearings and the meetings and then the special town meeting to get approved by the residents, we have all our ducks in a row, and we can just keep on going. And if they ask us how this relates to the other one back and forth, we'll have the answers.
yeah. I agree.
No,
I-
that's,
And, yeah,
So you don't know what date in December?
no, we can find out the dates, and we can also find out the dates as it pertains to the marijuana as well, where we need to be.
Yeah, because I read that, that's quite extensive. They put
Some,
on.
some of our bylaws right now, actually are set regards that where certain things can be, so we'll just have to kind of
Well,
look at, we want to.
The only thing that's
Define it.
set is the retail stores. As far as cultivating and growing it, is it open canopy, closed building, the manufacture of the item itself, past the growing, all that is addressed in the latest guidance we got from Boston.
but,
Right, those, that really not going to pertain to our bylaws, that's things that are set.
Well, it's gonna pertain to our bylaws if we allow them to grow in Granby.
But the state has set certain guidelines and laws that will pertain to growing it and manufacturing it and stuff like that.
Well,
so.
when I read it, it's kind of loosey-goosey in as much as it gives us the opportunity to adjust them to our town. They're not, the only strict bylaw in there that I read under Massachusetts general law, which they stated, that no retail store can be closer than 500 feet from a public or a private school. That's the only thing that was in stone that I read.
but doesn't the town have a marijuana commission that is discussing proposed bylaws? And
Yes.
I thought Al Wishart was part of that. I don't know who the other members are. Won't they be creating some of that?
They won't be creating the zoning stuff.
Well, right,
They'll be
there's,
making recommendations though on,
there is there's an ad hoc committee for the marijuana bylaws. Chief is on it, myself, a couple other members as well. And we are waiting for the state to finish up everything, which they just did.
That's what I'm saying.
So
That's
we
what I
will
just
be
said.
meeting
the
in the near
CCC to
future.
finish it, you mean?
Yes.
The cannabis,
Yeah.
which is what Jay had sent.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just came out and I read it last night, and it's quite extensive what
But
they're,
how's it gonna work
well, that's,
if the feds say it's still illegal?
then that'll be up to the courts to decide, not us. But we have to have stuff in place in case,
Don't know the courts will be able to decide that.
Well, the federal government still says it's illegal.
Yes.
But in the state of Massachusetts, it's what they asked. And I think the state of Massachusetts is doing the same thing that other states have done right now, so they're looking to proceed with it.
Yeah, I just don't understand how
Yeah.
states can supersede.
well, the way it
feds.
was explained to me, Massachusetts being a commonwealth is an entity among itself. So technically, the federal government can't tell Massachusetts what to do. The federal government can create laws that pertain, but Massachusetts, like other states that are their own entities, can create their own laws because they are an entity among themselves.
Yeah, I wouldn't get into that right now.
No, but you asked a question, so I asked the question too, Bob. That's how it was explained to me.
But as it stands right now, just like, Colorado and some other states that actually quote unquote legalized it. I mean, so that's where we are right now, and that's what the state has said it's legal in the state of Massachusetts, so we've been, our job is to set the guidelines for our town.
But it just seems like we've been discussing this, we started discussing this last year, and then it took a long time to get the CCC together, the Cannabis Control Commission together.
Yes.
And everything keeps getting pushed back by state red tape.
Right, but there's only one
For
thing
us.
that hasn't been pushed back, and that's the application date of 1 April. And the only thing saving Granby of them coming in and planting marijuana, cultivating marijuana, selling marijuana, is the
The
moratorium.
moratorium, right.
Well, it's not like it's saving Granby, that's what Granby voted on.
Well, that's what I meant.
So, yeah.
I mean, otherwise they could come in and do what they want because there's no bylaws governing it.
Right, but that's why we voted, and that's why we put forward
Mhm.
that, so. Mm-hmm.
I think the timeline we do stuff is important, so we don't miss anything.
Well, it's definitely important, and that's something we should look at, is like I said, get the exact dates as to where, what you said, Jay, is where we need to be, and if we can start backing up the timelines from there and plan accordingly.
And I think we should also invite the marijuana committee to one of our meetings to see where they're going, so we know where to go with the bylaws and stuff.
We have a member.
We do have a member.
Yeah.
And I think, I know the chief is looking to meet now and then go from there, to see, because like I said, that they just passed the.
Right, it just came out Friday.
The information, so that's new, and that's kind of what the committee was waiting for, to see how it's gonna pertain and what we need to do. We really couldn't move forward at the time because we didn't really know what the structure was gonna be.
I understand. The only thing I'm afraid of is if we don't do something and we don't have enough time to put bylaws in place before all that stuff takes effect after the moratorium. That's all I'm trying to say. So we have to do our due diligence to put all that stuff in place. And then you're right, Bob. If the federal government comes down with a hammer and says no, and the courts uphold it, it's all work we did for nothing. But then, on the other hand, if we don't do the work and nobody comes down on it, they can walk right into Granby and pretty much do what they want because there's no bylaws.
Right, but hence the reason that this ad hoc committee was set up,
Right, exactly.
appointed by the selectmen for input and guidance, and which in turn will send stuff our way.
Yeah, but I didn't think they were gonna do anything with zoning.
They're gonna look at everything and let kind of each particular area know how it pertains to them. So how's this gonna pertain to the planning board? How's this gonna appeal to zoning? How's this gonna appeal to the select board?
So the ad hoc committee for marijuana, as appointed by the Board of Selectmen, is gonna give guidance to all the other boards and committees on what they have to address?
They're gonna look at certain areas and kind of split it up as to this is your area, this is your area.
So basically, with that being said, because I know you're on the select board as well, that we don't have anything to do until they tell us what their ground rules have come up with.
Not necessarily. I mean, our job is to, we want to look at it, as you said, look at the law and stuff like that. But, the committee has been reviewing it since it's been passed. Back in 2017 it was passed.
And I don't think it's ground rules, I think it's recommendations that the ad hoc committee will be
Right, that's all they're doing, they're not,
suggestions.
right.
Maybe I used the wrong word, but you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
I just
no.
don't want to miss the boat on it, and then they start plopping applications in. We're setting up a store here, we're going to be growing it here, and we have no bylaws in place to control it.
Yeah, one of my biggest things is I want to see what the recommended separations are going to be.
Right, and there's also other
From
steps.
religious
Yeah.
entities and schools, daycares, if there are going to be any recommendations.
Well, like I said, there's only one firm, when I read it, there's only one firm, and they said it's a Massachusetts general law. No retail store shall be located any closer to a public or a private school from kindergarten through 12 than 500 feet. Then underneath it, it says, the local community can make it closer if they wish. But it doesn't say in there that they can make it farther if they wish. It doesn't say that in there. It says they can make it closer. It does not say they can make it farther.
There's also, it's certainly they're opening up, and, you know, if certain areas aren't zoned business, then they can't open up a business there.
Yeah, but growing it typically in agriculture is not considered a business, just like we have all the farms we have.
It's being sold as a business. If someone is producing it to sell it, it is a business. Unless you are producing it yourself for your own use, then if you are producing a certain amount of it, you are selling it, you're a business.
Well, the way I read our bylaws, we only have bylaws in place to control retail stores. Whether it's a business growing it, whether it's a business manufacturing it, whether it's a business distributing it, we have no bylaws addressing any of that.
But what I'm saying, we have zoning that pertains to certain areas as far as where business can be though too.
Yes, we do have residential only, we have mixed, and then we have commercial. I understand that.
So there are some areas right now that, you know, you can't just say, well, I'm gonna go open up a shop in a residential area because our zoning bylaws don't allow it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm just saying we have to go farther and define in those business areas what can be done to what extent, because there are limitations in that stuff that came out Friday on how big a farm you can have.
Yes.
You know, it's like the solar when it came on board with the green community.
This is all going to be trial and error throughout the state. See what works, see what needs adjustment.
Well,
And there's also, the town could also take, and when I say the town, I mean the people of the town, you know, they can actually, they can also be put on the ballot, not to be allowed in town as well, so that's also.
That's also a possibility, but we can't go by that if we got time.
No, but I'm saying, so there are other things out there too that I've heard.
That brings up another question I had earlier. The moratorium that was voted in by the townspeople, is there a right to extension on that? Drop dead or a new moratorium? Can a new moratorium be,
There was a big
Presented.
question if the
Yeah.
Cannabis Commission would even allow that moratorium to stand.
Right, and that's true,
You're-
Jay,
you're
that was a
right.
concern at
That's
that point. And from I know, it's a drop date, that's the date and that's it.
I see.
So, but like I said, there's other things that if the townspeople, if you will, decide to take certain steps, you know, other things can be
And I
done.
guess what it would revert back to is the town did take certain steps back a couple of years ago and voted to allow the sale and production of marijuana here in
Yeah, it was
Granby
like
with
52%
53.
for,
Yeah.
48%. It was very close.
So,
Glenn, since you're on the Board of Selectmen, are there plans to have a revote for the town for marijuana or not?
The only way at this point in time that there'd be a revote for the town is if someone takes charge and wants to go out and collect signatures to put on a ballot. The select board is not gonna take it upon themselves to put on a
Okay.
ballot.
Okay,
Because based on what the town had already voted for,
we're proceeding on that.
that's gonna speak for itself. But not to say that, you know, someone couldn't decide to, you know, get the signatures needed.
petition the town.
And that would be an article?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think it would be worth anything to talk to our neighboring towns like Hadley and Belchertown. I believe they voted yes as well. And some of the towns voted no, without us recreating the wheel, saying, what are you doing with your bylaw changes? For a joint committee or a joint
I mean, we
working
could,
group?
But I look at, you know, Hadley is much different than us, Jay. And they're much, much different than I look at us, than we are as a small town. You know?
And maybe that question could be simply answered by one person, being PVPC.
We can,
You know, if they know what's going on within
I,
the other communities that they work with, either
yeah,
Susan
because
or Larry.
when Larry was in the last time, and you weren't here,
Yeah.
he did say that some of the other communities in western Massachusetts are not choosing the same subject that we did for DLTA. They are choosing marijuana as their subject to be worked on by Pioneer Valley. So maybe we could backdoor it that way.
Mhm. Yeah. Is there a meeting downstairs?
There evidently is.
Oh,
Probably the 250th. They're the ones that usually meet the same day we do if they have.
Yeah. All right, so, I mean, go back to where we started, and we'll postpone the bylaw changes to our next meeting.
So in the meantime, is somebody going to work on a timeline to have it ready for the meeting, or do you want to do that after?
We can start looking at, as Jay talked about, maybe start getting some dates, so we have them for our next meeting, as far as what is the date, you know, for the changes for bylaws and stuff, where do we need to be? You know, that way we know for our amount of time that we have available for public meetings, going to be addressed.
To condense them together. Like, I know at our last meeting, you stated the town was probably going to have a special town meeting in November. If we could firm that up with the powers to be in the town, if they're going to have a date in November, then why don't we work off of that date? In other words, whatever the date is closest to us, whether it be moratorium, whether it be the set of the special town meeting or the DLTA grant ending, whatever date is closest, let's back it up from there.
Right, I agree, I think that's what you look at.
So
So-
can you, being on the Board of Selectmen, can you find out definitely if they are going to plan to have a meeting in November? And if it is, get that date so we can work the timeline off of that?
I can follow up on it. I mean, there's nothing scheduled that's a regular scheduled meeting, but
Right, but we know there's a lot of changes coming.
they're coming up.
And the more we consolidate, the more we save the town money and having separate meetings for every different board and committee.
yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I don't see us doing that, having all these different meetings
Well, the thing is, if some people are ready and some aren't, some are gonna go ahead and the others can't. So it'll cost the town more money.
Well, we could postpone the people that are ready till everybody's ready to set forth and come to the town, so it's one particular meeting, so.
And it would be good if we did this timeline that we come up with, we share with the other boards and committees and tell them, okay, guys, here's our scheduled meeting in November, work accordingly to get all your public meetings and your hearings done as defined by that.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely, you know, recommend to the other boards to what we're doing and the steps that we're taking
Yeah.
now, so to do the same, but.
I just hate going to a special town meeting every other month because I know how much money it costs.
No, I don't see that happening, Jay, nor should we have to do that either.
Okay.
I don't think it's.
So Glenn, you're
We meet
gonna,
there once in a great while. What's that?
you're going to follow up on the date of the next town meeting,
Right, well, next town meeting is
The annual.
the annual meeting.
May.
Which is the 14th of May, which is no
Right.
way we're gonna get anything ready.
No.
And nothing's on the agenda for that.
So the next town meeting after the annual meeting, right?
Yes.
Or as Jay had said, to back up against the
Right.
drop dead dates and everything.
I mean, if we get together and look with, and the other committees, and we come up with a date, then we can always look at, scheduling a town meeting as quarterly.
Yeah.
We're all ready at the same time.
And I still think it's a good idea if we invite the marijuana committee in or something like that.
I can't speak for the whole committee right now, Jay, but I would imagine so. Like I said, now that, you know, the state has firmed up a lot of the questions that were out there, the committee will be meeting and gives us a chance to look at it. I think it might be next week. We'll look at a meeting. I have to double check my email. I think it's next Thursday.
No, okay. So yeah, there's nothing out on the website for anything like that, so.
It's not, and as I said, the committee was waiting for the state to firm up everything. And they, as you know, they just did that. So, and it's a public meeting, and you know, Jay would actually welcome you to join us. Yeah. So. All right.
Okay, so nothing more on the bylaws and reviewing them until the next meeting.
Next meeting.
And Glenn, you're finding out when a potential town meeting after the annual meeting will be
Yes,
scheduled.
yeah.
So we can do our timeline from that. And then are we, once we get our timeline set, are we going to contact other committees and boards and whatnots to
We
see?
can send, yes, we can send letters out to them, let them know this is where we are, what we're doing in regards to certain bylaws that we're looking at for review, and see if they, you know, they may or may not have any proposed changes. I don't know.
Is it possible the ad hoc committee may request a meeting of all boards jointly?
They could. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we have a bylaw committee too, so you know, some of that information will be going to the bylaw committee as well. So,
That might work.
but when I see at our next meeting, I'll bring that up. I'll
Yeah.
bring up our concerns from this board to that committee.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because we need more communication between different committees and boards in town to make it easier on everybody.
Absolutely, and I know, and unfortunately, sometimes a lot of the town meetings and boards meet on the same night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, So,
Now, I have a question on if we could, at the end of this meeting, or now, get a potential agenda put together for the next meeting, so that helps Kathy and she doesn't have to try and track down people, knowing full well that some things might come in.
sure, I think we'll
Pretty
review
much this-
potential bylaw changes.
And that's about it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, just that there will take some time.
And actually, in those bylaw changes, we can eliminate, you know, the old business stuff of the discussion of business estate lots, because that will be part of the review. The duplexes.
So after we do that, yeah, we can, yeah, basically, almost the whole thing there.
Right, I would, you know, I'd just leave that as, I mean, pretty much
Just
what we
leave it
have set for this meeting, it will be our next meeting agenda, because I can imagine that could take some time to do that, and I don't have too many things on the agenda, and into a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah, but unfortunately.
Going through all the bylaw
we
changes.
go in spurts, shall we say, because we don't know from meeting to meeting on how many things are being filed with the town clerk and the town administrator's office. So we could get inundated. Like we've already told it, no more than one public hearing
Well,
per
we
night.
can't, because I mean, we're looking at this, and then, you know, Kathy's always gonna ask me if we wanna put this on the agenda, and I could, you know, post that. Wait till our next, you know, meeting, unless it's something that needs to be addressed right away, because, again, I don't wanna turn into a 3-hour meeting, 4-hour meeting, sitting here talking about different things, and,
To me, if we could do the whole thing in 3 or 4 hours in one night and forget about it, that wouldn't be bad.
I would really like that. I like for us to get everything together and just kind of see what we can hammer out, you know. You know, and then we're that much ahead of the game.
Right, because we have to get stuff done because we don't know what's coming. We can get slammed with anything.
Right.
I mean, we've seen that in the past. It's just happened lately, the last couple of meetings, we haven't had that much.
Oh, no, right, we've seen it before, you have 2, 3 things on it, it turns into be a, you know, just a 2 or 3 hour meeting with just odd things, you know?
And we've always had the option of having another meeting rather
Yes.
than a typical
Right.
second and fourth Monday.
Yes, yep, we can always do that too.
Do you want to go through the action item list?
Yeah, we should do that. Did you give out a sheet on that, Lou?
It's at the,
On the minutes?
on the minutes, it's at the end of the
Oh, that's
last minutes.
Okay.
So,
Well, I think on the Mullins rule, we're going with that because we're being videotaped now. So,
What was that on the Mullins rule?
the Mullins rule, we're fortunate to have the meetings videotaped now, so. there's no longer-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
okay, so we're going to call that one completed. Did, bring up the topic to explore possible future driveway bylaw with the select board?
That was something that, at the time, they don't want to look at. I mean, that's going back some time ago.
So postponed, or what are we putting for?
We're just not going to look at it. I mean, we brought it up and I think it was tabled at that point, so.
Well, I guess we'll call it completed, tabled.
Well, I don't know if we can call it completed or tabled, in as much as, I mean, at the special town meeting, or the annual town meeting, a couple months, the fire chief's asking for $220,000 just for a vehicle to address that.
No, that's not why that's not just pertaining to that there. That's not why. It will help out in that particular, with some of the steeper driveways, but that's not the only reason why he's asking for that.
Well, that's what the finance committee, and he said on TV. So that's why I said that.
No.
13th of
I was
May.
there.
13th of May,
I was there.
at the finance committee?
Mhm.
I didn't see you on TV. It was taped.
Just because you see me on TV doesn't mean I wasn't there.
Okay.
So
But,
what,
the whole thing behind that, just a quick review, was just more, the chief feels that particular vehicle will be more appropriate for a lot more things that could happen in a town. Not just access to driveways, I mean, it definitely is part of it, but there's other things why he wants that particular vehicle.
Well, I know Munson Ridge was specifically brought up.
It was, but there's also many other, as the chief noted too, there's other houses with the same, with the driveways and stuff like that. You know. But that's one of the reasons why. I mean, there's other reasons why the chief is looking at a new fire apparatus.
so I'm going to call it completed, tabled by select board.
Yes.
Okay, purchase nameplates, and we got the gavel.
Got the gavel.
Nameplates,
We'll have to see where they are. I'll have to follow up with
Kathy?
Kathy.
Okay. Review sample bylaw, so that's ongoing. We're going to do the review sample bylaws for common driveways, flag lots, up, ongoing. And the rest is ongoing.
Should we put on there for Glenn to remember to the keys for the filing cabinet?
To what? Oh. Remember that key?
I have keys. I just got to remember to bring them. Unfortunately, I actually showed up today with our key.
So the next planning board meeting is April 9th, right?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we actually, yeah, we did approve the minutes. I just can't remember if we did actually approve them or not. I know we did, yeah,
We did, yes.
we did.
Do we need a second?
Yes, we need a second.
J-
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else before
Oh.
I say that. Well, if nobody else has anything else and everybody wants to table everything into the next meeting, then I'll just say I'll second it if that's what the majority wants to do.
Well, I don't
Jay, is
think,
there anything else you want to bring up, Jay?
Well, you've already said you want to table all the discussion.
Oh,
So,
I want to table the discussion as far as the bylaw changes, because I think it's important that Jim be here as part of those.
I just thought we could start them and then show him what we did and see if he agrees or not, just not to hold up the process, but if you want to wait.
They were kind of duplicating the work. If we're gonna go through it and then, you know, show Jim what we went through, if he has any questions or comments, and we're kind of duplicating the work over again, I'd rather just do it when he's here.
Okay, I'll second it then. I just wanted to get this stuff done and out of the way.
And I think it's important, well, it'd be important no matter who was here or who was absent.
Right. I
For
mean,
everybody
right.
to be here, but Jim being the more senior, the most senior
Yes,
member
yes.
with the knowledge, you know, going back to actually when these bylaws were created.
Yeah, 2014, the last revision date.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I wasn't even involved in
Right.
that.
Neither was I.
Right, he's actually a person that was actually involved at that particular time.
Right.
And that's a good point, Bob, as well. So, you second it?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.